masterclass will be on product thinking, finding product market fit by Mr. Sumit Kumar Singh. Mr. Sumit Kumar Singh is a principal product manager at Microsoft. He is the founder of World at Webinar, which is a webinar aggregator platform. He has vast experience in the domain of product management and digital payments. His previous work experience involves handling product development at Jabra, Times Internet, Make My Trip, Reliance Jio, and Java. He is an alumni of Harvard Business School, IIM Lucknow, and IIT Delhi. Over to you, sir.
Thanks for the kind introduction. I am currently working with Microsoft building Teams. I could be held responsible for making your lives miserable if you are working on Teams and a 24/7 always on Outlook. We are facing the same internally as well. So, jumping on, let's get started, right? And I really want, we have startup founders, we have the faculties, we have some very solid experiences sitting today on the table. So I would want the experienced folks to probably just observe and let the younger folks to answer. But my question is, how do companies grow? Like really, how do organizations grow? You have an idea, you come up with an idea, right? All you amazing guys, you have amazing ideas. Some of you are even making money. How do you grow? What are the levers that you would typically think of? Number of customers, so increasing the top line.
When customers are repeating our services again and again, and they are referring us.
Referrals, repeats, okay. What else?
Quality.
Quality. Oh, can you define quality a little better?
Quality, I mean, whether it's product or education or services.
Yeah.
So those quality, I mean, should be better so that the customer will repeat only when quality is better.
Got it. We in product terms we call that as product love. So if consumers love your product, they will come back for more of that love, and it increases the repeat rate, increases the engagement, and engagement then becomes a leading indicator for retention. They retain or not is a different question altogether, but they would typically do it.
Sometimes they give you feedback that you should add this or maybe change this because they love the product so much.
Right. So my question here is, absolutely. So my question here is, we all know Amazon, right? Amazon started as a company selling shoes and books. Why is a company which has been predominantly selling books and shoes today invested $400 million in a filmmaking studio? If you were in that boardroom today, what would be the conversations happening in that boardroom? And we're all talking growth here, by the way, right? It's all growth. So somebody came up and said, okay, let's invest $400 million in building a movie studio.
Entertainment market size is growing.
Yeah, but that's not my business, right? I am in the business of selling shoes and e-books and books maybe.
To keep the customers engaged. Nobody visits an Amazon website on a daily basis to transact. So this becomes one of the ways to keep it high touch, high frequency, and that's, I think, is the idea behind something like Prime, and have your own studio you can propagate your own idea at a larger scale.
So if I was Amazon and we were having that discussion, it's a great response, by the way. Thank you so much for that. If we were having that conversation, my question to you would be, we have Disneys of the world, why not just partner with them? Why do you want to build movies and make these movies yourself?
Well,
go out and get your content from Tollywood, Bollywood.
The data that they are collecting. Yeah. And so that they can create an ecosystem personalization. So that they can,
for that I need to make movies.
No, but they already have that data through Amazon. Right. While creating movie, they understand how they can make a bigger product, so they are making movies, but they are also recommending other movies.
Data guys, show of hands to data guys. How do you track data? Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Listening in my thought process just now
Yes.
is under threat by TikTok. And it's actually finding that that's not working. The whole thing, the Mickey Mouse is not working now.
Okay.
And Donald Duck is not. And they have to change.
Okay.
And of course the other parties also. And that TikTok is an event story. Because just now you asked me a question and I answered. It actually can be event and go around and it's a story. It's like Tendulkar got out or somebody else hit a six.
Right.
This is becoming the story of now design and developing a product. I think it is sort of forcing people,
Yeah.
and Amazon perhaps has a possibility that they say we have this kind of process capabilities that the market can do.
That's an interesting response and probably answer to that. And I have a follow-up question to you. I'll come back to you. But yeah, go for it.
I read a very interesting study a few days back, and it was saying that specifically in India, if I talk about, there are around 503 million or so digital users who are using it.
Yeah.
And average screen time that has happened is around 8 hours. On an average, a person spends 8 hours on his mobile phone or whatever digital device.
Okay. Is that tier 1 data, tier 2 data?
I think it is a general data. I don't know. I read it was tier 2 or tier 1 and tier 2 data, but that was the data point. And it said that today all the companies are in a battle of that 8 hours. How to capture maximum 8 hours, maximum time out of that 8 hours from that particular user.
Yeah.
Facebook acquiring WhatsApp. What is the user doing when he's not on Facebook? He's on WhatsApp. Similarly, if I talk about the Amazon case, what you were talking about, okay, when he's shopping, he's on Amazon. But when he's not shopping, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He's either going on Netflix and watching something, he's doing something else. Why can't I capture him there as well? Maybe that is a thought why they might.
Why do I need to make movies for that? I can buy content and it's just push in, right?
I'm collecting data. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, collecting data is fine. I agree with you on the collecting data story. The narrative is right.
The money is in creating products and selling it.
Right.
So the higher you go in the vertical, the
Yeah.
more money you keep on making.
Yeah.
So producing movies will get cheaper for me as Amazon over time.
Okay.
But subscribers will keep on increasing over time. So because I can control my costs and also quality because of data,
Right.
I end up making more money. So I think that's why it makes, so you basically you're saying buy versus build.
Yeah.
And over here build makes more sense. because-
Economies of scale and things will eventually connect. Look. So my question is, and maybe sir coming back to you here, if we are in the business of content and we are talking about Netflix, Amazon Prime and now TikTok, who am I really competing with? What is my competition? Sleep, right? We all agree here. When you're talking about sleep as a primary share of the mind, how do you grow your product in that case? What is it? Now, the question, the true question here is, what is your business?
It is not the primary share of the mind's performance.
Okay.
Mind perpetually experiences risks. Mind is I'm not talking to your lifetime or something, I'm
Yeah.
talking to system kind of.
Yeah.
But the mind has a dendrite of the physiology. So it's a system is not the system that I normally talk of. Whenever I talk of electrical system, mechanical system, this system is different.
Right.
And it is a perpetual state of risk.
Right.
And the risk, so as I said, it constantly interacts with the environment. With sleep, to have a peaceful sleep is not easy. I mean, it's an
Absolutely. It's an industry today.
I'm just answering a question. And the entertainment word also is incorrect. But that is what thought actually.
Right.
The classic takes place when the cognition and emotion get integrated.
Right.
Some the examples, that's the kind of thing when West Side Story and I hit the sand, the mud.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that the crux of the matter is there. And I must emote, I must enjoy, I must have that. But enjoyment does not mean enjoyment. Actually, cognitively I go higher level.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. I think that is the central point, that is the market. If I can keep on capturing it, I'll win. And actually that is what Amazon did, perhaps just as your education, MIT or I think that's what my answer.
So, prima facie, what you're thinking is correct. So, we are all the businesses, be it Instagram, WhatsApp, any habit forming product that we think of, is giving you that dopamine hit at different points in times, and the more dopamine hits that you get over a period of time, you eventually get addicted to that. And that's the reason why you come back into the products to have more of that dopamine hit, which is what we call as repeat, user patterns, engagement, etc., etc. So all of that essentially kind of, goes to that repeat dopamine hit. Now, when you're trying to build products, now question is coming back to the founders here. When you're trying to build your startups, when you're trying to get behind this user, what is it that you're really selling as the product or the services? We have a lot of upskilling folks here. We have folks who are in the business of giving mentorship in experts. What is it that you're really selling?
Relaxation or reducing their fear of living life.
I wonder if a product management folk is selling a course on product management or a Java, it's anyway relaxing.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. The founders are leave it to
He's talking about addressing their future and security. If you are learning and you feel a little more confident about your future, I guess.
Yeah, at a deeper level, it's about their living their life.
Yeah.
So when it comes to value creation for their future, in that instantaneous time, 3 months, which is a shorter period of time, you're providing them value which will make their life easier for next 2-3 years, and which compounds eventually. So yeah, that's it.
So go for it.
I think we're selling hope, upskilling guys, selling hope at the crux of it. Hope,
Correct.
confidence and assurance.
Yeah, you're basically selling a promise of a better life at the end of the day. Now, if you were to really selling this promise of a better life, you're selling dreams. How do you run your experiments on those dreams? What kind of a dream would make sense for someone? How do you grow this dream? Because if somebody has done this one course, right, and we have 2 tenets here, we have frequency and value. WhatsApp and Facebook, typically Instagram, have high frequency, low value. Life insurance typically has high value and low frequency. And then you have products like Zerodha, which is high frequency, high value, right? In that narrative of these 2x2 metric, where do you fit your products? If you get that answer, and this answer is not straight, by the way, because this coordinate will keep moving.
So the ideal state would be high frequency, high value. But because we've gone through different cycles and we sell very high value courses, to partners we sell very low value courses and high frequency. You go through cycles of it, I think, because in certain sort of upskilling in cohort you will do high frequency, low value and a lot of courses, and then you may have some cohorts which are extremely high value, where there's a crazy placement guarantee of we give you jobs for 50 lakh rupees or 20 lakh rupees or something like that. And then suddenly you become very high value and low volume, because you can only deliver that promise if you do it really, really right. So I think it's a little bit of you're jumping between the coordinates, and hopefully you have some products which are hero products which end up being high frequency, high value.
So if the nature of the product itself is changing, how do you then achieve what is called as product market fit? But before you even go there, can anyone explain what a product market fit is? What's the definition that so that everybody's kind of on the same page with how we define product market fit? Anyone in the house? What do you think is a product market fit? Building something that the market wants, right? How do you go about doing that if what Abhishek's narrative is that it's changing, right? And the product itself is changing. The demands are changing, people are changing. There are folks who would not go to LinkedIn for like years together because they're not looking for a job, and then suddenly they become super active on it because they got a bad rating from their manager.
So I think the fundamental needs remain similar over time.
Okay.
Maybe the format and the form and the way we consume or satisfy those needs rather changes. So if we identify what needs we are sort of going after and build starting from that point, then essentially not going towards like, let me just build what the market wants, but it's like what it needs, which is different. So the wants might change, but the needs remain constant. Yes.
Cool. With that, let's move forward. Everyone kind of agrees to that definition? That building something what the product wants is, and then identifying and reaching that equilibrium.
For us, how we say that we have a product market fit is, when we started off with multiple specializations and degree programs, and that's what we have been doing. But when we identified, now we are at a stage wherein we knew that there was a requirement among the students that we want to do some new age skills courses. We identified that there is a market requirement on the demand side, which is the industry, that these are the demands that are there in the industry. We created those products, and now after running those degrees for 4 years, we identified that out of all the specializations we were talking about, we have 9 main specializations which we feel is the right fit to go ahead. Right. So now we say after 4 years of running into this, I have a product market fit, these are my 9 products which have a market requirement, and right now this is where I am. But this product market fit might change after 2 years.
Absolutely, 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 100% agree to you on that one. So, and I'll pick you on this example as we go along. That's brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. So, of course, we kind of define what is PMF, and building the right products to solve customer needs is what we typically call. The question is, how do you know what to build? You started off with some 10, 12, 15 products. We have a lot of your B2B partners who have similar kind of needs. How do you go about assessing what to build?
I think you start with the hypothesis that this is what the market needs.
A more theoretical on-ground example, if you could. You do. Identifying user needs. Right. Talk to your customers. Right.
Also figure out what job that product is doing for the customer. So that's
Can you elaborate more on the job?
Sure. So let's say that my product is a coaching product. Yeah. So we simply ask that if I am going out there and coaching people, how can my product coach people a little better? So it's doing the job of a coach, so helping them learn a little better. Yeah. So to try and understand that if it was a human being and the product was, the customer was hiring me to do a job, what job that would be. So, that's the idea.
You have.
So, I mean, how to build, generally what I used to do in my consulting days and what we do is that we identify who are my users, identifying the personas, the needs, the daily life, creating a customer journey of that particular user, what is he doing in the entire day, then identifying what are the pain points, what are the issues, what are the digital touch points. Say for example, it's a banking customer and for some X need is going outside somewhere. Yeah. I think that is a digital touch point for me. All the pain points converts to moments of maybe positive moments of truth, negative moment of truth, and then making them a moment of delight is how you decide what to build using the research.
Right. So a typical process that we follow here is, and for folks who may just be getting initiated on this one, is we build our hypotheses first, and then we first build what we call as a proof of concept. Right. You get that proof of concept out, you test it out with your hypotheses. So you get your user personas right. Yesterday, Varun and Apurv, they established a very interesting point around user personas, different use cases. So when you are early morning on a Monday, when you're reading an Economic Times business news or a Mint, the persona of you as a user on the same device is very different than the same user who's looking for deals on a Friday night and looking to go for a party. These are very, very different personas. The motivations that eventually drive your attention and the actions that you take are very different. So just saying it out that, okay, this particular course is for ABC person coming from tier 1 or tier 2 towns, etc., which is essentially demographic definitions of users, is now becoming way more incomplete. It used to be the narrative about 5-6 years ago when the data that we would get from the market was still on the surface. Google Analytics largely has been the talk of the town. We would typically agree on the kind of data Google Analytics give us. Back in those days, we did not have CleverTap, MoEngage, WebEngage, and we did not have deeper stats and numbers and behaviors around how people are using. So we did not have hot jars to understand where, people are spending more time, how difficult is it for them to navigate. But now with deeper technologies and deeper data layers that we have, we are now able to really understand what exactly are you doing on a page and how are you interacting with my systems. Because of that, I'm able to tell what are you looking at on a Monday morning versus what are you looking at on a Friday evening, and how these two behaviors are very, very different. So that defines the user persona. Now the question about how, if you've defined a user persona, and for that one user persona, you now have to figure out what are the challenges that you want to do, which is what we often call as building customer empathy. So that customer empathy essentially comes when you stand yourself in those customer shoes and you say, I want to do X, but I cannot. And we were having some conversations last night and we were talking to the students on the campus. And we were asking them, okay, how often do you get Swiggy orders or Domino's orders on campus, and how difficult is it to kind of do it? And that's when we spoke about this new brand called Burger Singh, which is a very spooky, rip-off of Burger King in Punjab. But by the way, those burgers are amazing. If you're on campus, do try that out. But Burger Singh typically, and that's typically you get to know a brand and then get people. But just getting this narrative right, I want to do X, but I cannot. That is your building block for all the startup founders. My earnest request is to ask with the customers and try and understand. And this is where qualitative data will essentially come in. This kind of data set is not available in your Google or what's, Web Engage and Clever tabs. You will have to go and do focus group discussions and deep dive interviews, really understand how the user is using your product. Coursera mobile app, right? In the longest haul, and this is pre-COVID and again during COVID times, because people went back to the desktop. So desktops kind of became the hero of the COVID scenario because people moved out of the web, the mobile web, and they moved over back to the desktop. So desktop numbers started to grow up again. If you look at Coursera, and when they introduced the mobile app, saying that everybody would want to learn on the fly, that narrative changed completely during COVID. With the larger screen coming in, Byju's, if you see there, the app and the videos that are done, they're all done in a 16:9 aspect ratio. These videos are not done in a 4:3, which is not mobile friendly at all. So really understanding who the user is, how is he really consuming your content, your services, is he in motion, is he sitting on, so if there could be a, so recently there was a story wherein somebody who's a son of a bank guard just, cracked a bank PO exam. And that became a social, it was on Milap and a couple of other places. Understanding where exactly is he really, consuming the content. Is he doing this thing on his own device? Is he using a shared device? Is there one device for 5 members? When does he charge these phones? All of these and data points essentially will lead into your answer of I want to do X but I cannot. You want to read up something but you cannot because you may not have the phone. Great, now that you have a phone but you're still not able to do it. Why? Because maybe you don't have internet. Let's say you have internet, you have the phone, but still you are not able to complete your assignments and your courses. Why? Because probably you have a shared device and you do not have battery in that. So really going down to those aspects of his behavior and his living style, how is he interacting with the product or services, will give you the answer of I want to do X but I cannot. And these responses are exactly what will go back and fit into what you also call as the Porter 5 forces, which is all about your complementary products, supplementary products, and your competition and things like that. So it's everyone understands Porter 5 forces here? Yeah? Okay, so I'm safe. Thanks. So Porter 5 forces is a very, very powerful tool. And when you plug this, I want to do X but I cannot in the Porter 5 forces realm, it actually opens up some amazing opportunities of growth for you. That could be in supplementary markets, that could be in the competitive landscape as well. Which is how when you start to do it, you try and figure out that which one do you want to go after for, and then that's where you prioritize only one, and only one. The moment you break your entire attention from more than one problem statements, you are spreading yourself too thin because you still have to run your own experiments. For every problem statement that you come up with, there has to be a proof of concept. If the proof of concept is not validated by users, it is not flying off. With me till now? Right? So you prioritize one and then kind of move forward. This is what I spoke about frequency and value. You have, when you're launching your POCs, you will then get two of these aspects. One is the frequency, how often do people come back to your product? And the other is value, which is also the NPS score or anything. There are a couple of ways to measure the feedback from the users. But essentially, this is what you want to know. Where exactly on these two pillars does your product really fall? If the user, and in this particular case also, value is something, if you are high on value, you are much more difficult to be replaced. Frequency is something which is easily expressible. You can spend in performance marketing and brand marketing, and you can actually get yourself deep in the market. But if you are actually doing value selling, especially for knowledge services such as yourself in EdTech, focus on creating higher value. If you achieve a higher frequency in there, then you're clear shot winner in that particular market. Definitely. Because then people are coming back to you. Much more, they're definitely willing to pay for your services. Now, how do you understand this aspect of value? If you are a founder or if you are a product or a service, we all understand the concept of value system and value chains. Right? The question to be asked yourself is that who will miss me if I vanish tomorrow? The moment you get an answer, be it a supply side or the consumer side, you remove yourself in the value chain and now you ask yourself, who will miss me if I vanish tomorrow? If there is even a single person in that value chain or on those sides who's going to miss you, then you can ask money to that user. That is that user who is going to pay for your product and services, which is essentially what the value is here. Any thoughts till now? We good? Yep. So I would probably want to move a little. Potter's 5 forces. Oh yeah, absolutely. We can go back in this one. Please go for any thoughts that you have. Okay, so I should have added a slide. Essentially, Potter 5 forces talks about that you are in the center of the market, and there are 4 forces that are acting on that particular force. So let's say you are. We have this structure. We have the Nescafe, right? Now Nescafe shuts down after say 12. The current scenario. So that's when the tuck shop, which is student run, opens up. It's a very clear-cut replacement strategy and positioning of the 2 outlets that you have. So this is where the competition kicks in, and competition is essentially replacing you in that particular time zone. So post 10 to 6 a.m., that thing kind of completely shuts down. In case if I have to add on to the service, let's say I open up Nescafe and saying that, okay, because I can still go ahead and deliver my services to you at your room, but you cannot come to the store because I'm shut down, so to say. But I'll do my backdoor deliveries. So this is where you are actually extending your services, and you're actually telling these users that, okay, there is a new way to kind of reach out and access the products. So you are extending that one. But now the users are saying that, okay, I want to order momos and omelette as well with the coffee, which is where we are now moving into complementary products. So which is this, I want to do X, but I cannot. I just don't want to order a coffee at 12 o'clock, but I am also looking forward to add some more, from the tuck shop. I want to add some more stuff to eat. can you supply that to me? Right? Which is where, like, taking the example of the edtechs here, we are in the upskilling business, quite a few of us. How many of you are actually doing resume building services? Right? So resume building services are add-ons and value additions, which probably Naukri.com or IIM Jobs and couple of others are doing. But if you are able to add on to that, it opens up a completely different new market to you, which otherwise could have been adding to your market. Now the user, from a share of minds perspective, has to now go to two different merchants. One, they buy a certificate, they do the certificate and everything, and then they go to this other guy who's building a resume. But if I have to really lock this user into my ecosystem, I just have to see what his next pain point is. That becomes like, I've done my course. Now, am I getting a certificate? Great. Yes or no? If I'm getting a certificate, can I add it into my CV? Great. Yes and no again. Now, if I'm adding it to my certificate, how do I best position it? Because it's a part-time course that I'm doing. Now, part-time courses are not recognized nicely by the industry veterans. So how do I design my CV in a way that I'm able to show that I have done this course and it's actually value adding? So when I'm looking for a job, I'm actually able to bring that additional value to the table. That whole positioning is a pain point for a user to really understand. That is how you navigate that landscape of what are 5 forces.
Kushik, thoughts?
I have a question here.
Sorry.
Especially when
Just one question.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. With skilling, this leads to a problem of too many problems.
Okay.
Because everything is interconnected.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's say if I want to get somebody placed, I need to basically teach them how to make a resume. I need to make them better at talking in English, in communication, negotiation.
Absolutely.
Then teach the skills,
Absolutely.
right? Teach them. Then also go and solve the problem of like companies like sort of accepting these skills, right?
Right.
So in that, then the problem becomes that this let's focus on one problem does not really work. Like in something like a consumer product, it works well.
Yeah.
But like WhatsApp is just okay, somebody needs to send a message to somebody.
Right.
It's a very clearly defined problem.
Yeah.
But with education, I have found it very difficult to narrow it down to like one large chunk because you have to continuously fight like multiple battles.
Absolutely, which is why prioritizing that one hero use case for why, and we were having that conversation yesterday, right, about building a service and then building, how much do you invest in technology, build versus buy, and then really going after that one OKR that your organization essentially is going to drive. Of course, you can't do everything, right? But there has to be that one thing which you do the best. For everything else, you can always partner. So I teach product management, by the way. I'm also in the process of designing a course and probably will partner and he'll help me float my course someday soon. But essentially, what I realize is that product management, the way it's practiced in the companies, is one aspect of it. Cracking a product management interview is a completely different ballgame. And for folks who are entering into the product management landscape as a course, you will realize that. Enabling people to think product or giving them product thinking knowledge and design thinking, the whole HFIs and couple of other gamification aspect is one aspect of it. But allowing them to upskill themselves really and think product is a very, very different skill set. It's a different language. And till the time you don't learn that language, even if you prepare for an interview, you will never be able to perform in the interview because you're not speaking that language.
So when you talk about product market fit
Yeah.
and product thinking, these two words, right?
Yeah.
This product in it, right? So generally people associate product as possibly a digital product only.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I have been a designer myself and product thinking. I've been evolving my own thinking about design thinking, product management, and all of that, specifically being in ethics. Right?
Yeah.
So I have realized that process is also a product, right? Process is also a product. So when you say product market fit,
Yeah.
product thinking, product need not be a tangible product or an application, right? So when it comes to, let's say, EdTech, a lot of people are here who are having a lot of courses. The university also has a lot of courses.
Correct.
Is the product market fit for a university their pedagogy or their course? A course, I don't think, is a product market fit.
You go back to the why again.
That it should we use this word product market fit in a very loosely used way. I think it should be FCP, which is finding core problem fit. I mean, finding core problem is what a product eventually solves, or because if a pedagogy of a university solves the core problem, that it should be learning by doing.
If pedagogy was the product, all 100 of them will perform the same way as the one who's topping that one, the course.
When you say product, it's basically nothing but what's interfacing between the user and the core problem. Basically, it's the solution. It's interfacing, and that's where your differentiating factors come in. How you are delivering that to the user and how it is designed with.
A follow-up question on that, and I'm not refuting your line of thought completely here. Why do you buy a product, any product?
Because it solves a core problem which I might not be aware as well in my life.
Correct. So there is a pain point that you want to remove, and you're basically paying for removal of that particular pain point. What is the pain point that the universities and coaching institutes are solving? Go back to the why. Why would somebody come and enroll into a course? So if there is a why and there is an answer to that why, you will arrive at a product market fit always. And which is where the process, which is pedagogy, will not matter, because at the end of the day you will always supersede and surpass that process at the end of the day, because your why is the motivator.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that when we use this word product market fit, right, it's more solution oriented than problem oriented.
It is always problem oriented. It is always problem oriented. The challenge is we don't focus on the problem, we focus on the solution.
Yeah, because when it comes to scale, then we will be like, okay, this is my product market fit, and then I need to scale. People talk like that. But I think they should talk like, okay, this is the core problem fit which I have identified, and now I want to solve this problem at scale. People think in a more solution oriented way and they use this term product market fit.
The challenge with that approach is, the moment you scale a particular product, it is only solving a very generic 80% or 50% of the population's problem. It is solving a very average problem statement. YouTube today is solving a very generic problem. But if somebody has to use YouTube for education or WhatsApp for education, it's a very niche problem statement, which a scaled product will have issues solving, because we're not talking about a millions of users impact.
I feel then product market fit needs to be demographic specific.
The market changes, right? How do you define a market?
YouTube's core problem is solving a core problem of, let's say, consuming free, democratizing content consumption. That's the core problem. But when it comes to YouTube for education, YouTube for businesses, so that's where the solution comes in, that okay, a product market fit for a business.
You're jumping one step there. The step that you're jumping is the moment you're saying what's YouTube for business, you have not defined which business. Are you talking about business for travel, business for food, business for fashion, business for education, business for hospitals, doctors? You have not defined the user persona yet.
Right.
The moment you define a user persona and say, I want to do X but I cannot on YouTube, the market will reduce in size. When it becomes geographic specific, the market will reduce, the market would always exist.
Yeah, so what I have realized is that it needs to be more of defining the core problem fit first, and then when it comes to business vertical, so YouTube for business is a business vertical.
Correct.
YouTube B2C it's a business vertical. So product market fit is always associated with a business vertical and certain goals to scale.
Right. So solutions come later. Right. And hold on to that thought, because I have a few slides here which will be very interesting to. Yeah, go for it.
Example of 500 players, but I can like, are those 5 players levels going deeper?
Oh no, these are just 5 points here. For example, if I ask you, let's improve WhatsApp for education, and a lot of the world used WhatsApp for sending assignments and taking attendance and coming back. I want to take attendance on WhatsApp, but I cannot. I want to share a screen and take a class as a Zoom, for example, but I cannot. That's a pain point. And how do you solve it then? Frequency, value, prioritize one, etc. Those prioritization metrics can come in. But essentially, these are just 5 different problem statements that you want to do, and then just pick one.
You mentioned that the pedagogy cannot be a product or solution, but why would that be? Because maybe that kind of pedagogy, product is just the way of delivering that pedagogy.
Yeah.
Maybe the pedagogy, there's no product to deliver that pedagogy yet.
Correct.
So, but the solution is to profess that pedagogy and to upskill people using that pedagogy. Right? So, but then the solution is the pedagogy. Whatever you've invented now would be the solution. The product is just delivering that, and how there's just an enabler.
Correct. So the challenge with pedagogy is that it's a process, because at the end of the day, who's delivering? Who's the actor in the scene? That actor changes the equation of the entire delivery. Right? It's very nuanced when a same course taught by 2 different faculties can lead to 2 very, very different outcomes to the students.
So is it fair to say that if it's not standardized, it's not a product?
If it is not standardized, it is not a product. It can be more or less, yes, it can be said, because then you're constantly changing what your product essentially stands for. So your product, a vanilla product, which is typically an out-of-the-box experience, as we call it, has to deliver the same results, same everything, which is typically when you are installing a Windows or installing, Apple or a new phone. The out-of-the-box experience has to be delivered the same. If it's not standardized, then the standard outcome will not be promised. Which is why Domino's Pizza is a product.
But like artisanal pizza is not.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
When we are talking about this, so I'm thinking when you talk about pedagogy or programs,
yes, education essentially is a co-creation. So even if the same faculty goes to different classes, same syllabus, depending upon it's a batch 2019 or batch 2020, students will play an active role in creating the product, and that's why it is very difficult to standardize.
Yes and no, both, because in the education system, the reason why you actually come up with a course curriculum is important. You design a course curriculum to meet that deadline, because that is the OKR that you want to achieve. In 3 months, I want to get done with these 10 topics.
So we are basically, if you look at, let's say we talk about Bloom's taxonomy and the complexity. So easy, medium, and complex, very complex. And then Bloom's taxonomy, we talk about understanding, application of a concept, evaluation, all right, analysis. So one particular batch could be, or say we're talking about understanding knowledge, certain concept, because the curriculum mentions that this concept will be touched upon. One batch could be on medium level, right? And I deliver medium. Some of them may get only on easy. Some of them may be able to handle this concept on a complex level. Correct. Similarly, on if you took it on upper side where evaluation and analysis are or application are being considered, some of them may be able to use, let's say, a concept of break-even analysis in a more complex situation. In the same class, some other cannot. So I would essentially feel that even though we have curriculums with us, we have pedagogy lined up, but we have to fine tune what kind of batch size is there, what are their past experiences, and how good they can handle it.
Which is where outcomes become very important. And the whole rationale behind product market fit essentially is the outcome oriented. Are 5 people of the same class able to solve that same complex problem? Maybe times are different. Somebody would solve it in 1 minute. Somebody would solve it in 5 minutes. But if the outcome is solution, and they are able to solve it, that is when the objective has been achieved. Which is the pain point that you want to understand, the pain point you wanted to address.
So I think I want us to appreciate one thing about education. Every human being has a unique experience. That's why life is so visibly different. Same teacher, different student, given the example. All of us can relate to that. So when we're trying to fit an individual's unique experience into a structure, each of us will have a different point of view.
Absolutely.
So this issue is critical, but how do we then try and move towards something which has a semblance of uniformity in outcome, when intrinsically everyone is different? So now, I'm sure each of us are struggling with this and finding some ways. And therefore we go into, and even when we say pedagogy, I'm seeing many different meanings of it, right? In our, every first Saturday of the month, the president runs a faculty discussion with Vijay and I have been coming, the 102nd meeting last month, since we started.
102nd.
So in that, we don't discuss Senate stuff, we just discuss stuff about what we are trying to do, how we are trying to do,
Correct.
what do we consider important, where do we want to be distinctive. And we find that very, very gradually we are beginning to come to agree on certain things.
Right.
And we defined, we had an aspiration that you should be able to, we talk of Newton, there are students. Our aspiration was you should be able to recognize a Newton from a mile. A damn tough thing, and how do you do that? But gradually now we go to employers and say, yeah, your students have something different. We are trying to struggle to say, what all have you done to bring that, not similarity, but a certain minimum standard.
Correct.
Right? So I just want us to be mindful that some of these questions become very difficult to grapple with. Because each of us, so what Vijay Manki is trying to do is, we call it a new pedagogy. It's taken him how many years to get about 1/4 of the faculty engaged?
8 years.
Right? Not that they disagree, but they're not in the rhythm. And they're looking at evidence and seeing it. So, please don't try and get a quick answer to this question. And I don't have a better answer except to say that recognize the complexity in education, anything. Recognize it. Recognize it and build your belief system. And pray to God that it's the right one which connects with a large number of people. That's the product market fit.
Absolutely.
It is praying for market fit.
Yeah.
So if I may ask a follow-up question on that, sir. You spent like 8 years to get to this level, right?
With him, yeah.
How many times did you have to go back and forth and try new things?
So, I should let him ask, but I will, because he gives very long answers, we have to have patience. That's why he starts by saying, I'll have another discussion with you, and then he's chasing me all the time, and I come here, I need the discussion. So I would encourage you people to. So, the difficulty comes from the fact that every teacher who comes to the point of teaching has been through a personal journey. Right? With all its complexities, most of them during PhD time, you have one guy who will shape your life or make your life. And if he's been tough to you, then every student of yours will suffer for a few years, whether you like it or not. So the individual journey of each person gets hard-coded by the time.
Right.
So why do we say faculty are so isolated? Because the PhD, they have nothing else but themselves. They've got to find a little thing which nobody knows, so you keep it quiet, etc. So the journey makes you like that. And therefore, when someone is trying to tell you this is the way to do it, your position earlier has been no. I have my way, which is different. Right? So for people to get evidence that another way works in academics, and if someone talked of feedback loops, I think yesterday, yes, we have to have huge feedback loops. Academics don't take feedback anywhere in the world. It's very difficult to get the feedback, right? And this is the reality, because that's the way they put it. They say, kind of thing.
Right.
So, in this business, we have, many of us have loved teaching, love whatever else, but feedback loops don't work very fast. You need a lot more evidence to change my view. So therefore, when we talk to the 8, so then I think about faculty meeting number 50, where I think we introduced students to come. So when faculty were presenting, they have to give evidence of the students. When students speak somehow, we want to listen because that's the outcome. Then how the hell is this guy doing? Gradually starts working. So it takes time. And somehow, I want to elaborate. I think I was very happy to hear the guy saying that 10-year cycle ka socho. Even at VC is saying 10-year cycle ka socho. But then they're saying show me an 18-month roadmap. Fair. And I think the interesting thing was the granularity. When Balaji, my colleague, was presenting, he goes from 17 I don't know how many super architecture to millisecond.
Right.
That comes with 20 years of experience.
Correct.
So be aware that I think this is a damn complicated problem. Complex.
It's a complex scenario. Yes.
Complex game. So let's not try and get a fit which each of us will accept. I'm just cautioning you because this is not the first time this conversation happened around education. Last time also we had product market fit. We struggle because each of us is trying to get a persona, maybe, as you said.
Yes.
Which is different. And then your definition of which, and something you do consciously, something happens by your innate self. So you get a group, and as I said, you have to hope that your combination of I cannot factors cover a large number of people.
Correct.
So I was just thinking, Vijay, when we share our experience, we talk of one or two products which did very well, and many which we continue to believe or should have been bombed but didn't do well. And often used to struggle, and we couldn't always put our finger on why, because it exceeded logic. And I've asked Anand in any case, I mean, he thinks more because also been dealing with startups for a long time, that he should post-lunch a session or pre-lunch. When we have a session soon after yours, he should spend a little time on some of these issues.
I'll just respond only to this one point.
Yes.
Product market fit, only to the perspective from an education, only from education.
Sure.
Now, if therefore you define product market fit to be, and this is one definition, but if you define it this way, the extent to which a product satisfies the demand of the market. I say that's product market fit. That's a reasonably accepted. Definition. Now, what is the market? Now, for an education institution, if the market is people who are wanting a job, okay? So the product market fit will be exactly what MBA institute B schools do, which really advertise or IIT preparatory.
Right, JE ones. Correct.
Purely from that perspective. Now you could have a different. The market definition is market should be people. I want the product market because I define the market to be, people who are looking for effective students to come and work and make a big difference in the company. It completely changes. It becomes extraordinarily complex.
Correct.
Now the third one is what an academic would say. I want to prepare students who will change the world, who will be critical thinkers, and which is a genuine academic aspiration. Ask anybody in NU will be a part of their. Then it becomes even more complex. You cannot really answer the question at all.
Absolutely.
I think it is therefore it depends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what will be common through all three of them essentially is that I want to do X but I cannot. And the prayer.
Yeah. Sumit, just a quick point, because we do teach product management and reports that we run. I think that in EdTech there is a challenge that sir pointed out. And in fact, a very traditional institute director, legacy business school director, asked me a simple thing. Abhishek, this is all great, you will run this course for us. How? That was the harder question. What he thought was the easier question, which is the harder question to answer, was how will you ensure uniformity of experience? Right? And that hit me like literally a ton of bricks. I had genuinely never thought of it. I felt like a failure that day.
Correct. Which is where PMs come in actually.
Yeah, so this is where I understood that And the challenge we are all grappling with, that's why there's so many questions. I was just noticing everybody, that whatever we are pitching as a product, what we think is a product, product management course, design course, AI course, whatever it is, because different people will learn it differently.
Correct.
How do we ensure that there is a uniformity of experience? We cannot. So what you can assure them at the end is some kind of, and I'm going back to old school pedagogy, is learning objectives or learning outcomes.
Correct.
So you can say at the end, once you go through this course, at minimum, so this is the lowest common multiple, at minimum, everybody will be able to do this.
Correct.
Now, how much you maximize is up to you.
Correct.
And I think that's when everybody talks about false promises in EdTech, I think what has happened is, instead of LCM, we've talked HCF. Right? This is the highest you can go. Actually, maybe the other way, and this at least what we do, because I'm also selling a partners program, so I have to keep their expectations in check. To say this is at minimum what we will deliver, and if you do well, if you do extra, this is what you can get extra. Because otherwise, we're selling something to someone, saying it's brilliant. I mean, I went to Delhi College of Engineering thinking that, I'm going to be the smartest person in the room. I'm not the most smartest person in the room. Because there are more smarter people than me in the room.
I have an analogy for what you just mentioned, right? So think of it as gyms, right? And training centers. Like, no gym will ever guarantee that I'll make you lose weight or you take your money back, right? But the way cult solved the problem of gyms was fascinating, because all they did was, I'm going to make it extremely simple for you and extremely engaging for you to come to the center. Once you are at the center, whether you're putting in 50%, 60%, 100% is dependent on the person who comes there. But if I'm building the environment to allow anybody to go to 100 or 50 or 20, I think that is what needs to be built, rather than focusing on I will get everyone to, let's say, like, I'll give everybody the experience of, I mean, it's not easy for sure, but I'm just saying that that's like in product we have this thing called atomic feature. Like, the atomic feature of YouTube is to upload videos and view videos, right? So that is what the atomic feature needs to look like.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's the minimum expectation. What is the minimum expectation across the board that I can achieve for everybody in my cohort?
So the one thing which you're probably missing there is, it's a great example for cult, and I'll probably pick up on that a little later. In both the examples that you gave, you're still focused on the outcome and solution. The narrative still does not start from why do you want to enroll into the product? Why do you want to do that course? If you ask that question to any of those CEOs or CXOs, the motivations for what they want to take out of the course, for the same curriculum, the outcomes and the journeys and the way they will absorb the course itself will be very, very different.
When I started my first question, when I said that my product is my degree, but now based on the discussion that we had, what I think is, for my definition would be, the product is a collection right now for me of my pedagogy, as well as the curriculum content delivery that I have gone out of this degree, plus the pedagogy that we have gone out to create, to maximize how to standardize that. We have created some box content and all those set of things is there. But yes, once that you get into that pedagogy, and then you learn their degree program, and then I am providing a learning outcome. Now, what student is looking at? There are multiple students who are looking at different things in that product packaging.
Absolutely.
One is looking for a placement. One is looking for, I want to learn from corporate coaches. One is looking for, I want to do more and more hands-on activities. Okay, this is the product. It has pedagogy, it has curriculum content, and then now you come in, and then based on what he said, the LCM is there for everyone, and then LCF is something कि आपने corporate coach से ये लिया, इधर से ये लिया, इधर से ये लिया. That's how you.
Absolutely, spot on. And that's the reason why for same product, especially in a delivery or a process-based product, the inputs and the motivations will actually determine what the outcome essentially is going to be. And I think we're running out of time now.
So we spoke about how the needs would be different. Sir also mentioned that an academician will have a different need out of an education, learning journey, somebody else will have a different. So these will still be different. What may still have a common framework is how do you still measure product market fit.
Absolutely. Which is where you can think about the value, NPS. You can talk about how many of them are actually going to recommend to your friends and families. That is another aspect of NPS that you can often ask for. Third, of course, is will they come back to you? Will they come back to you as a brand? Will they come back to you as a faculty? Will they come back to you as a mentor? And there are multiple parameters on that, which again ties back to the motivation aspect of it.
I just want to have one. Yes, please. Earlier, we talked about that, it is the product love that sells in the market. And also now you are saying like whether you come back to. Yes. So the measurement aspect of it. As a measurement. I have been into the private higher education landscape. If you look at, yes. I have worked with the Metis and Lovelies of this. Yes. world. I have seen many very few students from BTech. They will do MBA and they will not choose the current university at any case. So the conversion of same student to the same university program is very low. Not even double-digit %, 10%. Correct. Right. So that these students will not come to back. So MIT BTech student will do MBA maybe from some other university, equivalent, not better necessarily, correct. Maybe worse, but will not repeat the university. Correct. So when we are saying, and despite this, the universities are selling these courses. Correct. Because this is one of course. Right. And second, the student have to of course qualify to get admission. It's not just any other university that you pay, or not university, any other industry where you just can buy the courses. Right. So private university or on higher education landscape, basically the student has to kind of qualify for the product. Correct. So there are two things when we say we're looking at product market fit. We also need to.
You got one thing wrong there, and I want to disagree on that one. When a student comes for an undergrad program, the consumer definition and persona is very different, the product definition is very different. When he graduates from that course, he's already an undergrad. Now he's going for higher education. How are you placing yourself in that higher education market? What is the problem statement? What is the promise that you are selling? That persona has changed. That user is no more same. He's a 4-year more educated and a far more mature user now of the product who's already gone through the system. He understands the positives as well as the negatives. It comes as a package. And now he's choosing to not accept the negatives of the system and then think about the positives. The product has changed. It's not an apple-to-apple comparison anymore. So, which is where the absolutely brilliant example that you gave, just a slight narrative difference there is that it's not an apple-to-apple comparison. Both in terms of product, because it's a higher education.
These graduates, let's say 2 universities, A university and B university, both are equivalent in terms of ranking, infrastructure, faculty, so
it's the same argument. Nothing is the same.
Okay.
No two experiences. So anyway, now the other thing is each of us has been through a journey of education. And I think mine is better than anybody else's. So this will never agree, thank God. And at one level.
Correct, absolutely.
So, but I guess this slide is what also the previous 2 speakers talked about.
Yeah.
Of focus at a point in time.
Correct.
Not for 1 day or 2 days, but they also defined the horizon in some sense.
Correct.
And so, the previous slide of what cannot, and you try and figure out those things a little better than the others, and make assumptions, and then prioritize one.
Absolutely.
To me, that is, I think, the crux of the message.
Absolutely. And actually, we just ran out of time, but there is one more slide that I wanted to give, which is this one.
Yeah.
And I will just take 2 minutes to spend time. Even though if you have a great product, you may have a great delivery, great promise, etc., etc. If the trigger for how you are actually getting these users back into the system is not right, the product will never fly off, which is often what we call in the product landscape as product discovery and product onboarding. If the onboarding of the students as a part of your course curriculum, as a part of your journey is not done right, even though he will go through the entire thing because he has paid, he will not recommend others. He will not come back for more. So product discovery and product onboarding for all the products and Telegram. So Tinder, for example, it's a great example there is that it's a dating application, has a 15-step onboarding screen. If I try and do the same 15 steps on a banking application, people will uninstall that, right? And it's true, right? It's actually true. People go the motivations.
I mean, the philosophical love is more important than
But you're making an important point here, which is the person came in with a set of expectations and whatever you call it.
Right.
But now you want them all to be to coalesce a little more in that onboarding process, so to build a little more of a common.
You smoothen the onboarding process in a way that he is able to realize the product value sooner, which is where a lot of institutes are giving.
This is a good thing because I think at the university our induction program is considered a benchmark.
Got it.
Right? And it's improving year after year after year. And I know that even IIT Gandhinagar, the director was on our board, he took that idea there and they started doing it.
So a lot of Ivy colleges, for example, in US, they invite students, all the applicants, to spend a day on the campus.
Which we do. What I'm saying, when they join here, we have found that there's a process of unlearning school habits.
Right.
That can't go away by lecture.
Correct. Absolutely.
We have found that getting them to agree on certain ways of our doing things, like our 4 core principles, it should come out of the years by the end of that period.
Right.
Which is at the end of it, they should have done every sport, every club, gone up the hill, gone down and seen what the hell is this place.
Right.
So I see this logic being very right because by the end of the month, we've got boys and girls from all over the country, including a session that Lake and the others do where they have a session where everybody in there for their states. They have the stall for their states and they're pushing their states and this is what we meet and this is what we do and everything.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that intuitively we have looked at that. And I'm seeing making a presentation when they come with very different views of what they come for.
Right.
If they go with that and go out, they'll all have very different experience.
Absolutely.
So you get them to get an onboarding process and get them to realize a common set of things which may be slightly different from where they started, but they have either common language or that.
Correct. So they need to fall in love with the product. They should find value for why they have come. If they're able to realize that value in the first week itself, ideally 7 days is typically what
we have 4 years, so we have they are with us for 4 years. Bound.
Yeah. Correct. So you started off with that, they realize the value, and then the investment essentially is how motivated they are to spend time on the campus.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I think students are living beings.
Correct.
And they come with a diversity of experiences.
Correct.
So while all that we just said about product in quotes.
Right.
In this case, the product is their comfort with the institution.
That is the last cohort, so that is the investment.
Collection of student experiences.
So I define this as a low stakes understanding of, see, you go through 2 changes. You go through a change in your life pattern, the way you wake up and you walk across, make friends, do whatever, and the way you learn. So far the way you have learned is very different.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have your mother running after you with a glass of milk, amongst other things, right?
Right.
So you have to look after yourself. So you are going through a number of changes.
Correct.
If you bring those changes gradually, your chances of getting used to that campus are
Much higher.
much higher.
Absolutely.
That's actually the crux of the issue.
Correct.
Handling the change in smaller chunks and getting comfortable with each.
Correct.
Once each change is internalized, then you are ready to accept, and therefore the last change which you bring in the new way of studying, which is a high stakes,
Right.
is in the end. But by that time you are comfortable with the environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This concept is called as lazy loading in the product management. Lazy loading.
Lazy?
Yeah. So we introduce
Lazy loading. How many of you guys believe it is lazy loading? The residents, the girls used to say, their parents call up, they say, our children are not getting time to sleep. Please allow them to sleep.
correct. So So you're introducing friction and different levels of friction at different times of the journey.
Each of them has a body mental, like you wear someone around here, walk up and run up and down the way. They tell them, don't worry, it's painful, but you'll be very happy at the end.
That's the promise that they're selling, essentially.
The opposite of lazy loading we have is desirable difficulties.
Desirable difficulty, absolutely, yeah. So you actually take up difficult challenges because you want to do things. I think we are run out of time.
We don't want this to end because I think this is what all of us are trying to grapple with. Right. But at least the two things I have taken away, I have to say for myself, that the message of the day has been something not new. Okay. Focus. We've all been told that you go back and be focused. You go back and energize, focus, go back and be focused. So I think that clearly is an important message has come, whether it's the final price, then looking for a time horizon, understanding the uniqueness of experience which all of us share.
Right.
And then when you embark, then maybe you have a point at which time you can get people to converge on your belief systems.
Correct.
And therefore their belief systems, they're radically different. They say, where the hell am I? There are users who say 20% go up, 80% go up. So if you've done your work enough to clarify it, and then you've done work on onboarding in the beginning seriously, then the chances that they will go through and get what they thought they would get will be much higher. That gives you product market.
Absolutely, the whole agenda, this particular session planned just after lunch was also a very right product market fit, because product discussion goes on like this also, that everybody is active and there is a lot of things to contribute.
Absolutely.
So this was very rightly placed.
So Sumit, you achieved one purpose very successfully.
The prayer. I'm glad.
But I'm not sure whether you completed what you wanted.
Is there any slide?
There are a lot of slides, but largely this, and then I wanted to take examples.
Next round.
We may have another opportunity, I don't know,
Sure.
tomorrow. But there is an economic model of product market fit also.
Right.
For all this you can do it. You say, okay, I'll train you to become an astronaut.
Correct.
And I'll put you in a rocket and send you to space.
Correct.
But that is a market of one.
Correct.
It's really a market of one. It cannot fit in the economics.
Absolutely.
The product market fit may be complete. You may reach the moon, but you may have died before.
Yeah, which is a very classic question when you're talking about innovation versus inventions. So inventions are all patent based, but if they don't have value in the commercial market, then it's not an innovation. You may have done amazing research, but it's not adding any value to the society at large. So what's the point of it? So innovations are mostly incremental, and that's what adds value. Patents are great, amazing problem statements, but they don't commercialize. So that's what product management, it leans over towards innovation more rather than inventions. So with that, I would want to stop and hand over. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
So patient. Thank you.